Don't have to be ruthless to win. The hardest part, in my opinion, about having a culture from the heart is that it has to be authentic. The simplest change of just changing who you are in those meetings. It's not easy, but it's simple. For me, the desired outcome is I want to love that person. And if I love that person wholly and completely, good things tend to happen. To be with another human being and try to figure out how you can help that other human being, that is a completely different feeling. People have to be willing, Larry. They have to decide for themselves that they're going to change. One of my favorite things to do in team meetings is to talk about all the ways that I screw up. It has an amazing ability to bring people together and bond. We believe at Kaiser that the more selfless you are, the more self-interested you are. It's possible to actually do good and do well at the same time.
Welcome to the Culture from the Heart podcast on the From the Heart Business Network. In a business world where employees and customers crave authenticity and trust, hosts Larry Levine and Darrell are on a mission to find and showcase heart-centered executives and the companies they lead. You are about to hear an inspiring conversation with a visionary leader that's bringing heart into the workplace, empowering employees, serving their clients, and uplifting communities, all to create true success. This is Culture from the Heart. The movement starts here. Let's begin.
Welcome to Culture from the Heart. I'm your co-host, Darrell, here today with Larry Levine, and we're joined by Jonathan Kaiser, managing partner at Kaiser Commercial Real Estate, where they are boldly reimagining commercial real estate. Jonathan, it's great to have you here.
And I'm almost fired up from that entry video, man. I'm like,
you like
got
that,
my energy going now. Wow.
Well, we bring the energy, and we start every conversation with this question, and I can't wait to hear your answer. To when you hear the words culture from the heart, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot of things. I'm in the business of commercial real estate, brokerage, and advisory. And that is not typically an industry that you would see associated with business from the heart. And so what we're really trying to do is bring a different way of being into an industry that's known for something different. And how we got here is I was raised by parents that taught me to love and serve and give and help. And we were overseas as Christian missionaries. And when we came back from overseas, I had this realization that we were poor, didn't like being poor, got into commercial real estate because a friend of mine said I could get rich. And as I got in, I realized, wow, this is a cutthroat industry. So I became cutthroat, but I was unhappy because I was misaligned with my core values. And it wasn't until I reinvented myself and created this business from a heart that we now have today that we were able to have both the success and the amazing experience of being part of something really special. So for me, it means following my heart with doing what's right and loving on people and loving those around you, doing what's right, and making sure that you're committed to that even when times get tough. It's easy to do it when things are good. It's harder to do it when things are tough. And so that for me is like just following that quiet little voice inside where you do what you know is right. You love on people because that's the right thing to do. And it all seems to kind of work out in the end.
You know, doesn't it, Jonathan? And I'm so glad you brought up love on your people, because you wouldn't be where you're at without loving on your people. But I zeroed in on your core values, and you used core values. Would you be so kind enough to share your core values with us, please?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, if you think about, can I comment, Larry, real quick on what you just said?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So part of what I believe is true is that there's a lot of people that say they have a good culture, that talk about culture, that even may believe they have a good culture in their organization, but they often don't. And the reason is because from my perspective, it has to be authentic. So part of culture from the heart is it's got to be authentic as well, right? Like it's got to be something where it's coming from a place of purity. It's coming from a place of this is actually who I am. So the hardest part, in my opinion, about having a culture from the heart and business as a force of good coming from the heart is that it has to be authentic. And I think a lot of people hear it intellectually and they understand it, but it's that internal revolution that needs to take place, right? And so I believe that we all have this idea that we know is true, that you should be good to people and do the right thing and all that. But then I think we get into business and we have this experience where we're convinced that we have to be kind of cutthroat and we have to look out for ourselves and we have to fight. And I just believe in a different way. I believe that it's possible to actually do good and do well at the same time. And so from a value standpoint, we have 15 core values we've built our firm on. We designed them in a way that was really where they all interact. The number one is we serve our partners, clients, and each other fully, selflessly, and completely. And all of them sort of fit within that mold, right? Like we're coming from a place where everywhere we go and everybody we touch and everything we do, we want to do from a place of service. And then we overlay on top of that service, we overlay excellence, right? So everything we do, we want to be excellent. Because if you're really going to be of service to someone, you want it to be excellent, right? You don't want to be of crappy service. You want it to be excellent. So, if you look at our mission, vision, and values, I just grabbed it, right? We have everybody at Kaiser has this on their desk. They know what they are. They live by them. Our values are excellence everywhere, unreasonable service, relentless work ethic, disruptive mindset, selfless leadership, and always coachable. And the idea is that anybody that interacts with a Kaiser member, Larry, is going to experience this level of love, of commitment to them, of whatever it takes to be of service, obviously legally and ethically. And that is something that I think most people in business don't get. And so for me, what I believe is that selflessness, as we describe it, being selfless and trying to help others, is actually self-interested. We believe at Kaiser that the more selfless you are, the more self-interested you are. Or put even more weird sounding, we believe that selfless is selfish. Because if you're playing the long game and you really care about long-term sustainable success, in my opinion, the best way to do that is to love and serve as many people as possible. You can't outgive the universe. And we prove that every single day here at Kaiser.
Selfless is selfish. What a powerful tagline and perspective on all of this. Jonathan, earlier you were talking about the role of authenticity behind all of this. And I'm curious, as a leader, obviously the word authenticity gets used a lot in today's business world and the world in general. As a leader, what does it look like from your perspective to be authentic as a leader that's behind all of these values and incredible vision that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there's so many different ways to unpack that, right? So I'll try to do it as quickly and simply as possible, which is, I think like every other buzzword, this is a buzzword that everybody talks about and not a lot of people actually do. I'm not even sure that a lot of people actually know what it means. For me, it's a lot of things. A few of those things in no particular order. One, showing your vulnerabilities, showing where you make mistakes. One of my favorite things to do in team meetings is to talk about all the ways that I screw up. It has an amazing ability to bring people together and bond. Having an open forum for anybody to make a complaint publicly about anything we have doing and get it and actually be addressed respectfully as leadership. We do that every meeting. I literally at the end of every meeting, all right, where do we suck? What can we be doing better? How do we improve? But I also think it's being willing to trust your people enough to help them see the big picture. A lot of leaders want to keep people compartmentalized because they're afraid that if they give them too much, maybe they're threatened by it or whatever the case may be. For me, it's about authenticity means if you let people into the why and they understand what you're up to, why you're doing it, why you need it in maybe a compacted time frame or whatever, it's amazing how much they respond affirmatively to help. Whereas just barking orders from a high tower typically is not that useful. So Authenticity is like helping people see the struggle, helping people see the real human that you are. Not just applying management tip 347 to try to look smart in front of your people. It's like, I don't care about any of that. The thing that I want people to know about me is that I'm real, and they can trust what I say, and I mean what I say, and I may not always do it perfectly, but at least they'll know it's truth. It's at least my version of what truth is.
I applaud you. I applaud you so much, Jonathan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks, man.
Well, you're listening to Culture from the Heart. We're going to take a brief break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to learn more about the culture at Jonathan's organization. Stay tuned. Let's be honest, finding the right people and building the right culture, that's the holy grail for every leader.
That's why we recommend Titus Talent, because they don't just fill seats. They help you build teams that thrive.
With their partnership plans, you get more than just hiring help. You get a committed team by your side that helps you attract top performers and retain them.
They bring strategy, data, and a human touch to talent optimization. No guesswork, just results.
So if you're ready to invest in your people and create a culture where everyone wins, head over to culturefromtheheart.com/talent to learn more.
That's culturefromtheheart.com/talent. Your culture is your competitive advantage. Design it with Titus Talent.
Thanks for supporting our sponsors. Let's get back to this great conversation with Jonathan Kaiser. Jonathan, at your organization, you're boldly reimagining commercial real estate. And you mentioned in the first segment that something I think we all know, commercial real estate is a pretty cutthroat business. In light of what we've been talking about and the culture you're trying to build, how is culture a part of the way that you're reimagining real estate? And where do you want to see this thing? What direction do you want to see this company moving?
Well, we've been very, very blessed. I mean, I think it was USA Today that named us the commercial real estate industry disruptor a few years ago. And we've been very, very blessed to have a community of friends and clients and allies that believe in what we're doing and support us. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to one fundamental thought. And that fundamental thought is, do you trust your commercial real estate broker? I think most people would go, maybe, depends, or a flat no. And we want to take that to be the most trusted advisor in their network. I mean, commercial real estate is the second or third largest expense for most companies. It's the least flexible because you can lay off people, but you aren't laying off a lease. And over half of corporate bankruptcies involve breaking some kind of lease. So for us, this whole idea of disruption, it's not all culture, but it's a lot culture, because how we do it is just as important as what we do. Who we are in that service. Are we honest? Are we hardworking? Are we all the values that we espouse? One of the things about commercial real estate brokerage is that it's very, very conflicted. All the traditional firms that primarily represent landlords and developers also try to represent tenants. So one of the things we're doing that's pretty unique is we only represent the user or the tenant or the occupier of the space. So the inherent conflict of interest that's embedded in most firms, we eliminate by only representing the user. But it's more than that, right? Then it's about, how do you have someone who really feels like you have their back, that's going above and beyond for them, that really, really cares, that treats them like you would treat a family member. It's this idea of excellence in service. It's this idea of, if you really care about someone, how do you go above and beyond for them? How do you pull out all the stops and with the intention, at the end of the day, it's not a commission that you're seeking. That's the natural out product of your service. It's, you want a extraordinarily happy client with a wonderful end result. That's the goal. That is the focus, right? And so from a cultural standpoint, if you don't embed that in your own culture, your people are not going to be able to be delivering that. So you have to be delivering inside. In my book, I talk about the 3 levels of reinvention. And I think it starts, like we mentioned in the first segment, with yourself. You have to transform yourself if this is going to be authentic. And then your next layer is, you have to do that within your own company culture. And then from there, if it's embedded in your company culture, you can do it in your community. So the way that we're able to be disruptive through culture, through service, and helping other people and going above and beyond and providing somebody with an ally that they didn't have before is by ourselves being the people that actually care, by having a culture inside the organization that cares, and then that is what bleeds out into the marketplace.
Oh, this is so good. I got to still hone in on this disruption because you got me thinking. It's hard to be a disruptor out in the community if you're not willing to look inward as an individual and disrupt yourself. Disrupt your thinking, maybe disrupt what's on your heart. And what I really, really like about this is disruption and heart can go hand in hand. Because Jonathan, most people wouldn't think of disruption and heart going hand in hand.
Larry, you took the words out of my mouth. I couldn't have said it better. I completely agree. And I think that is at its core of, I believe, what makes us so successful. Right? Is it's that authenticity from the heart, the disruption of the status quo to provide value above and beyond. It really does need to start within. And, just me being authentic and vulnerable, when I first started this firm, I was of the impression that I could maybe help people convert. So I tried to find some cutthroat people and help them become. And what I found is that was kind of a wasted effort because at the end of the day, people have to be willing, Larry. They have to decide for themselves that they're going to change. So now we're way over the top on the front end with screening for this on the front end before we hire people, because the most important thing, we need to have them obviously be talented and able to do their jobs and deliver excellence. But the most important thing is that they have to be aligned with this culture of service, with this mindset that we're describing, this disruptive service and loving on people. If they're not that, it becomes fake, inauthentic, and it doesn't last, because you can only fake loving people for so long. We find people that actually love people, and we teach them how to be excellent versus the other way around.
I think it's such an interesting idea, this concept of disruption. And in your case, you said earlier, we removed the conflict of interest that was built into the industry. So I think what's really interesting here, and I'd love to hear more of your perspective on this, is on one side, you began the journey with inward, doing the inner work, thinking about yourself and then your company. And then on the other end of this perspective, you looked at an entire industry and said, hey, there's something that we think maybe based on that inner work is broken here that we want to boldly step out and change. I'm curious a little more into your thought process and how all that got started and came together.
Sure. So first of all, when I decided to reinvent myself, I had heard a speaker talk about a different way of doing business, and it moved and inspired me. And I was looking for something because I wasn't happy being a shark. And when I saw the simplicity of how to do it, right? It's not easy. It's very hard. But the simplicity, it's very simple. It's everywhere you go, you love on people, right? The concept of it is so beautiful and so simple. I got it. And I said, I understand that. And I can see how that's a good business strategy. And I want to do that. So that started my personal journey. And it took me a long time, right? I had to reverse a lot of the burnt bridges I'd already, burnt. I had to develop new relationships based on service, et cetera. Once I finally started having success, now I had a new problem, which was the culture that I'd created was now out of alignment with the culture at the traditional firm that I was at. So where all good Arizonians go for a mental breakthrough, we go to Sedona. And I was sitting in Sedona, staring up at the mountains, and I had this thought, and it was, what if you could teach other people how to do business the way you've done? I was like, I guess I could do that. And then the thought was, what if you had an entire company that's all you did? And my thought was, well, I don't know anything about starting a company. I'm just a real estate guy. And then the thought that came back was, if not you, then who? And I realized in that moment that I had the opportunity. That's when I saw it for the first time, Darrell, to answer your question. That's when I saw it. I saw the opportunity where, wow, what if I could go create a firm that this is all we do, that other people can look at and go, if those crazy people can do it, maybe I can do it too. And if I'm doing it in arguably the most cutthroat industry in the world, there's a lot of other industries that aren't perfect that probably could learn from this as well. And that's what made me decide to write the book Ruthless, is I wanted to give people a roadmap on, how they could do this for themselves as well. And so, again, it's not been without its ups and downs, trials and tribulations, like lots of lessons learned. But man, it's one of the best things I've ever done. At the end of the day, it's so fulfilling and gratifying to spend your days loving on people versus trying to, snarky people. It's just a whole different world, man.
All right.
Hey, Darrell, really quick. Jonathan, I want some of what you get in Arizona, but I'm sitting here disruptive, right? Ruthless, loving. I'm lovingly ruthless. How's that?
This is great, guys. Well, everyone,
right? It's got the big cross out, right? So you don't have to be ruthless to win. So I wanted it to be called Ruthless by everybody, so that people would be like, "What? Wait, I thought you said he was a good guy, right?" So we got the big slash the Ruthless.
I love it. Love it. Well, hey, stay tuned. Up next, we're going to uncover how you don't have to be ruthless to win. We'll see you in a moment.
For many CEOs, sales feels like a black box.
You've got visibility into marketing metrics, financial dashboards, operational KPIs. But when it comes to the sales team, it feels like guesswork.
That black box, it's costing you, because if you can't see what's happening, you can't fix what's broken or fuel what's working.
That's where the Sales Index steps in. It opens the black box of sales and shows you the real story. Who's thriving, who's struggling, where they need help, and how much revenue is being left on the table.
You'll get clear, actionable data on sales behavior, mindset, and team culture, so you know exactly where to invest and how to drive growth.
So stop flying blind. Go to salesindex.ai and mention Culture from the Heart for 10% off an index of your sales team.
Sales Index, because when sales stops being a black box, you start unlocking real sales results.
You're listening to Culture from the Heart, and we're jumping right back into our conversation with Jonathan Kaiser. You don't have to be ruthless to win. I know, Jonathan, we've got so many listeners, so many leaders listening in that work in industries like yours that are traditionally known for being ruthless. So if you would, guide us through this process of saying, you know what, you don't have to be ruthless. You can boldly reinvent your industry.
Yeah, I think it starts with what we talked about before, actually being that way in your heart. But there's also strategery to it, right? There's only so much time in the day, and we all want to love and serve as many people as possible, but we have limited time. So we have to make decisions about how we do that. So when I teach this, I talk a lot about picking the individuals, right? Like, let's say that you're in sales. Let's say that you own a company and you're, selling a product or a service. There are certain people, prospective clients that you want to do business with, right? So in a normal sales environment or a company like this environment, you're going to reach out and you're going to try to put on a sales pitch and try to get clients. My argument is, don't change that outreach, still do the outreach, but instead of trying to sell, figure out ways that you can serve. So identify the top candidates where if they felt uniquely served by you, by what you're up to, whoever you are out there listening and whatever you're doing in the world. If instead of your sales meetings being sales meetings, think of them as service meetings and spend your time trying to figure out how to love and serve that person. It is a 180-degree reversal from what you've been doing, but it's a skill you already have, right? You already know how to do that in your homes or in your social circles or whatever with your kids. How do you apply that here? So it's just about sitting there, listening, asking good questions, figuring out where the needs would be. And I don't mean like trying to walk them down a sales funnel, needs and leads. No, I'm saying get to know them as individuals, figure out where there are needs in their lives, and figure out how we could best make it so that we're being of service to them in that moment. That if you come from that place and every interaction is like that, you're going to start seeing it show up differently. You're going to start seeing more success. You're going to start seeing greater relationships develop, because nobody really at the end of the day likes being sold to, but everybody loves being helped. And so the more that you serve, the more relationship you create, the more that you have the opportunity to do business with people, and you're not sitting there trying to like convince them of something. You're just trying to help. To me, as simple as that all sounds, that's our secret sauce. And that's what we do every single day. And it's catapulted us to number one in our market of what we do.
I applaud you, Jonathan. And this is what's dancing through my head is as I'm listening to what you're saying about, working with people and serving people, you got to detach as opposed to being attached. Mm-hmm. To what's happening and in the conversation and the outcome. You got to, and this is hard. You got to completely detach, and that's difficult in sales.
If you're just there to get something from them, you can feel it on the other side of it. It's kind of creepy, right? It's that like neediness feeling. If you're really there as a human being to be with another human being and try to figure out how you can help that other human being, that is a completely different feeling. Mm-hmm. That's what we try to do. That's what we teach. But again, it's got to come from a heart place. You actually have to care about people. You can't just pretend to care about people and gamify it. I've had plenty of people that go, oh, I get the tactic, right? Like, ooh, the law of abundance. And the more you give, the more you get. But they don't come from the place of the heart, right? So that's where this culture of the heart thing, that's why I love the heart focus, because you can feel somebody else's heart when you're with them. And if their heart is needy and demanding inside, even if their words are otherwise, you can still sense it. But if you're there and you're actually being loved on, what I try to do is I just do what my mom does. My mom is the sweetest human that ever walked the face of this earth. And all she does is love every single person that walks into her presence, regardless, with zero judgment. I try to do the same thing. And I think there's a lot of that's lacking in the world. And, I still have real conversations. we're not talking about butterflies and rainbows all the time, but it's a place that I'm coming from, right? It's a place of love. It's a place of service. It's a place of dedication to the person across the table without this extracting, Larry, perfectly, as you said, from the desired outcome. If all you're thinking about the desired outcome, you're missing it. For me, the desired outcome is I want to love that person. And if I love that person wholly and completely, good things tend to happen. Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. Well, as we wrap up, Jonathan, what advice would you give to leaders? You mentioned going, sitting and staring at the sky in Sedona. It's obvious that you do things outside the regular, outside the office to nurture this place in your heart. What does that look like for you on an ongoing basis?
I'm just a completely imperfect person that has fallen in love with loving on others. And so I got a lot of people in my world that I love and that love me back, that they don't really care about all my inadequacies. What they care about is that I care about them. And what I care about is that I care about them. And Beautiful. They care about me. So I think if you're fundamentally looking for a better way to do business, the simplest change of just changing who you are in those meetings. It's not easy, right? I'm not saying it's easy. It's very hard, but it's simple. If you just come from a place of love and you focus on what the other person may need or want and focus your energies in helping them get what they want, then like every great leader has said since the beginning of time, give and you shall receive comes true. And we're the, Kaiser is the epitome of that. We are blessed beyond measure because of the people that love on us. And so it's like a love contest. Who can outlove each other? And that's a fun game to play versus who can screw each other over.
Beautiful. This is so good. Outlove each other. I love
That's right. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your time and your heart with us this afternoon. I love it. This has been amazing.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure.
What a great conversation, Larry. And as we wrap this up, I just like earlier, out love. How can we out love? And this whole thing of disruption begins in the heart. And I loved his perspective on how he went on that journey to disrupt his industry.
Yeah, I'll just create the visual for all the executives are out there that are buying what we're talking about is you got to open up the cupboard to your soul.
Mm-hmm.
You got to open up who you are, be willing to go there and connect better to yourself. If you can't, you're going to struggle to disrupt in any fashion, lovingly or otherwise, if you can't do this internally.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us this week. We've got so many awesome conversations with heart-centered leaders coming up. So make sure to stay tuned. Thank you to everyone who's sharing this show. We believe that culture is the heartbeat of every organization. And as Jonathan has reminded us, it's about reimagining that begins in your heart. Thank you for joining us today on Culture from the Heart. Until next time, lead with your heart and watch your culture thrive.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover heart-centered leaders shaping extraordinary company cultures. To access a leader guide with notes from this week's episode, simply click the link in the show notes or visit us at www.culturefromtheheart.com. Do you know a CEO who's built a culture from the heart? We'd love to hear their story. Head over to www.culturefromtheheart.com and click the Nominate Your CEO button. Until next time, remember, great cultures start with the heart.